Hey y'all, I'm Sean Canny and this is Can EdTech and Innovation, and today we're going to talk about setting goals and how these goals can make you better as a professional. Alright, I'm not going to lie, this isn't the first day of school. I created that graphic and put a lot of time into it. I was pretty proud of it, but I promise you that I did actually make these goals way before the first day of school. As a teacher, you need to create goals every year. I'm not talking the kind of goals that admin want you to create. I'm not talking about like a SMART goal or a peers goal or anything of that nature. I'm talking about goals that will impact you specifically and goals that will make you a better educator. Again, as a teacher, it's important that you have your own specific goals. And that's the important thing you've got to focus on, is think about the things that you can control in your classroom, and that's what these goals should be oriented around. Not what the admin wants you to accomplish, but what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, and how you become a better educator every year. The goals that I'm talking about will help you improve as a teacher. For example, your administration may say one of your SMART goals may be that every kid passes the end of course test. And that's a great goal. Hopefully everybody does. And there are going to be years when kids come into your classroom where everybody can pass the test. But what happens in those years when kids come in and they don't have the tools necessary to do well in the test? How do you show growth? How do you improve as a professional? And those are the kinds of goals that I'm talking about. Full disclosure, I didn't do this for the first few years that I taught because I was just in survival mode. As a new teacher, you're a few days ahead of the kids in the reading. You're trying to figure out what your bell schedule is, where you need to be, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not talking to first year teachers. They gave you probably like 2 or 3 different preps you've never had before. You are a day ahead of the kids in the reading. You're trying to figure out where you need to be and when you need to be there and what all the acronyms in your school mean. So if you're a first year teacher, you just survive and do no harm. That is your goal if you're a first year teacher. What I'm talking about are for people who kind of have their feet under them. They know what's going on and they are ready to move forward in building their careers as a professional. And I say this, out of a positive place. I love teaching, but for the first 3 years, you're just hanging on right now. First area, student or classroom goals. How are you going to make your classroom better? What is going to happen in your day-to-day classroom that you can make better? So how can you improve as a teacher when you're providing lessons for your students? How can you make them more engaging, that type of stuff? Everybody can improve. So what are you going to do every year to get a little bit better, as far as your student-teacher interaction? One goal I had for several years was to try and get 180 awesome lesson plans together. That was my goal. When you have a great lesson, your students are engaged, the learning is more meaningful and it lasts longer, and more importantly, classroom management takes care of itself if kids really enjoy what they're doing. So that was my goal, was to get 180 lesson plans together. And full disclosure, I think after about 5 to 7 years of making this my goal, I think I got up to about 80, maybe 85. So it's a good goal, but this is one that, again, tied to my classroom because it was me interacting with kids and trying to make every day better. If you have problems thinking about a student or classroom-oriented goal, these are some good things to think about. One thing you do, for example, is give students more voice and choice in the classroom. Think about universal design for learning, choice boards, give students options to pick what they want to do, to show what they know, as opposed to just assigning them a quiz or a test or something like that. So student voice and choice is a great way to incorporate a goal that ties into student or classroom-oriented goals. Another area could be letting students create art. As opposed to giving students a test, have students create a piece of art in response to a novel. For example, when I taught Lord of the Flies, I had my students create a scene of art that tied to the novel somewhere, what they consider to be the most important scene, and they had to explain their piece of art. What did they make and why did they make it? And truthfully, that was some of the best work my students did during the entire course of the year, over the 23 years that I've taught. Other areas could be ideas like how to include STEM or STEAM assignments into your curriculum. Maybe you want to explore project-based learning, things of that nature. But these are all examples of goals you could create that could help you become a better professional and focus on student and classroom interactions. Anyway, you get the idea. These should be lessons that push you in new, innovative, and creative ways as a professional, and they hopefully have a positive impact for your students. So keep in mind, sometimes these ideas don't work, and that's okay. If they're good, you keep them, you use them, and you improve them next year, and if they're bad, you just throw them away, and we say, we tried it, and we're never doing that again. So it doesn't mean, just because you try it, doesn't mean you have to do it forever. Professional goals are different than the first set of goals because it's you focusing on yourself as opposed to you focusing on your student interactions. So professional goals, we're talking about how can you become better as a professional? What can you do to add to your resume? Whether it's endorsements, certificates, even something for like attending a conference. For example, one year my school thought it was a great idea to send me as an English teacher to a science conference. I thought it was stupid. I promised to learn absolutely nothing the entire time I was at that conference. And so I went to several different sessions. I thought, this is dumb, this is stupid. And then ultimately I went to a session where they were talking for biology, and they were talking about different data points. And then there was one stray data point all by itself. So I just kind of heard somebody ask, what is that? And then the speaker mentioned it was an outlier. Well, that's when it clicked for me. In poetry, outliers are really important to us. The things that don't fit in with everything else are what's really important to us. So for example, Paradise Lost, 10,565 lines of unrhymed iambic pentameter. 6 lines are in trochaic hexameter. Those 6 lines are really, really important, and that was my takeaway from the conference. From that point forward, I started looking for ways I could connect English and literature language with other classes. So we started talking about outliers. In computing and programming, students have a line of code is called syntax. Obviously that's important in English, so you get the idea. I was looking for a lot of different ways to incorporate language from other classes into my English classroom. So that was a way I tried to improve as a professional. So professional goals, you may look at something like, I don't know, start studying creativity or achievement goal theory, maybe universal design for learning, but you're looking for things that will improve upon your professional knowledge. Maybe you join a professional learning community, either at your school, or maybe you look for some virtually. For example, for my PLCs, I was the only 11th grade English teacher. I didn't have anybody to talk to, so I would follow people on either Facebook or Twitter or whatever it's called now, Instagram. I would reach out and look for people that could teach me something about my profession. Ultimately, I thought it was a great idea. I would go to conferences, and anybody that I found interesting or was doing creative work, I would start following them, in social media and using some of their ideas in my classroom, and that helped me build a lot of different ideas and a lot of different lessons. Other things you could do to improve on a professional level is just add to your own knowledge base, whether it's certificates, reading books about teaching. For example, I'm reading Excellent Sheep right now that talks about like the whole purpose of the American educational system. So there's a lot of different things you could do for professional growth and development, and that really is what this this set of goals is looking for. The last set of goals are for you and you alone, and those are personal goals. The school year, if you let it, will take over your entire life, and you don't want that to happen. I personally used to tell my friends at the end of the school year, well, this summer's over, I'll see you next summer. And that really wasn't fair to them or for me. You need to make sure that you take time out of your year to make sure that you are doing well and that you don't burn out and that you are growing and developing as a person as well. Otherwise, you're going to go into school, you're going to be bitter, you're going to be angry, and nobody really wants that. So what are your personal goals? Are you going to travel more this summer? Are you going to learn how to paint? Are you going to take an art class, try pottery? You need to find something that you enjoy doing that is independent of school. Otherwise, it will be all consuming and you're going to get burnt out really fast. So you need to make sure that you maintain your personal life as well as your professional life. Going back to that graphic, I promise that I did create these goals before school started, even though I'm recording this a little bit into the school year. So I apologize for that, but the graphic took a while, so I'm keeping it. So here we go. So my school goals go as follows. 1, as a coach, I need to learn more students' names. I need to make sure that I know who my kids are, and make more connections with them. So goal number 1 is learn kids' names, because again, as a coach, I'm isolated. I don't see them that much. So I'm going out of my way to make sure that I learn more students' names. 2, in addition to learning students' names, I'm also going to make sure that I get involved more in student interests and that I know what they're into, what they like doing, so I can try and tailor my interactions and my curriculum into what they like to do and their needs. My third and final area for students is that I'm trying to get a little more involved in student life. And what that means is that I'm actually getting involved in their interests. So I'm going to start watching a few shows on Netflix or a few movies that I hear them talking about, so that we have something that I can chat with when we're talking about things, in the classroom. When I'm making lessons, for example, I can make them practical. I can bring in things that they're interested in, and that will help them stay engaged in what I'm doing. Professionally, I'm doing a couple different things. I used to attend a lot of conferences, but that kind of fell off. So I'm going to start attending more conferences and presenting more. So that's goal number one. Goal number two, I need to learn about AI. I know it's a really big deal. I keep hearing about it. I see it. I understand it, but I'm trying to figure out ways that I can stay engaged and stay more up to date with what's happening with AI, especially when it's happening in the classroom, because it's going to be a big. Third and finally, for professionalism, I'm starting this YouTube channel. So hopefully this will teach me some skills and help me learn. I learn by doing things, so this will help me out with like film editing, video production, things of that nature. So that's where I'm going with this one. So hopefully the YouTube channel will be around for a little bit, but we'll see. And on a personal note, I do have 3 goals there too. One, I'm trying to get fit again. I kind of fell off the wagon as far as fitness goes, so I'm getting back into running again. Slowly but surely, I'm headed that way. I'm into basic woodworking, so I'm trying to get back into woodworking once again, so I'm building my hobby base. Last but not least, don't tell my wife, but I'm trying to do better around the house, because I'm pretty bad as far as like chores and things of that go. So I'm trying to be more proactive and get on top of things around the house. So don't tell her that, but hopefully she'll appreciate it and see that happening. So anyway, again, these are just ideas for goals that you can set for yourself that will help make you a better professional and help you avoid teacher burnout and be a better professional in the long run. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll have some more coming out soon. So take care, everybody.